Hello, welcome to Zoe's Treasures. My name's Tracy. As always, here with my husband Noel. Y'all, it's been a day. Hello, Crystals, Ranch Hand Finds, Monster Mama. Hey, everybody, I just saw some of you. It has been a day. Hi again. Yep, good evening, Southern Charm. This is my third show of the day. So we did our 7 a.m. business talk this morning. I just did a raid train that I completely forgot to run the buyer's giveaway. We'll get back to that in a second. And now this one. And then I thought I had a little more time. I looked at the clock, a little too busy. I should not do 3 shows in one day. It highly not recommended, at least for me. I looked at the clock and it was, I don't know, what time did we raid? 6:20? Anyways, I thought I had about 30 minutes. So I go upstairs, I get an ice cream, and I'm sitting here eating my ice cream, playing on my phone. And I look up and it's 7 o'clock. I'm like, oh my God, it's 7. Like I have a show right now. So here I am, little running around, but we'll make this work. I like ran upstairs real quick and put my ice cream back in the freezer. I'm like, okay, it's going to wait till after the show. So before we get started talking tonight we're going to talk about expenses and how to track expenses. But have any of you ever forgot to pull the buyer's giveaway? Just somebody make me feel good. Just somebody say, yes, I've forgotten to do this. This is probably the 3rd or 4th time that I have forgotten to do a buyer's giveaway. Because, and it's always on a raid train, because I don't do buyer's giveaways unless I'm on a raid train, and nobody's saying yes, so I feel terrible that I'm the only one who's done this. Thank you, my love. So I get so caught up in wanting to raid on time, buyer's giveaway completely out of my mind. So what I think I'll do is put a little gift card in everybody's with the note, just saying I'm sorry. Nothing happens, just nobody gets it. Nobody gets the buyer's giveaway. It just kind of disappears, which, I mean, isn't a bad thing, but this is part of the reason I don't like buyer's giveaways for me, because if you forget and somebody may have bought just because they want that $10 gift card. I doubt they did that, but maybe. And so you use it as a way to entice people to buy, and then to forget to do it is kind of like, the people who bought, they're kind of like, hey, I was hoping to get that $10 gift card.
It's not to entice them, it's to thank them for buying from you.
It's not, it's more
and
to
thank
encourage
you,
sales.
SS Vintage. I appreciate you. I don't know what I did to you, SS.
It's all his fault all the time. So anyways, I'll make it right. But immediately Southern Charm is teasing me. She's like, laughy faces in my tags. You forgot? I'm like, I know I forgot. So anyways, thank you, Crystals. But I will make it right for everybody, because I really don't like to do that. And of course, the minute I hit raid, I'm like, dang it, I knew I forgot something. Oh, it's not the first, and I'm sure it will not be the last. I guarantee you it's not going to be the last. All right, so tonight, let's talk. Thank you for sharing the show. I appreciate it. Forgotten memories. Hello. Let's talk about expenses. So this morning, I was in a training and someone rated the, oh my gosh. Now see, I haven't done that. So it makes forgetting the buyer's giveaway very minor in comparison. Don't send a reminder and you're silly. It would, like before you raid, like you couldn't raid until you pulled it or something. That would be really great. Probably not high on the priority list for whatnot, but that's the worst. Yeah. One time I was on a raid train, and the person, they signed up for the raid train. This was one of CG Boomerang's. I don't know if it was a Battle of the Best. It was one. It may have been. It was a long train that CG was doing, and the person signed up. They had got all the reminders just like the rest of us, but they forgot. The seller completely forgot, and they were just running a regular show. And so the person who had just finished raided into them like they should have. They're like, oh yeah, such and such is on. And they raided in. And the person's like, oh, what's everybody doing? Like completely oblivious that they ever signed up for the raid train. It was just coincidence that they were running a show at the same time. It was like, CG was in the background. You could see her like jumping in and trying to like talk to her in front of everybody. You've had somebody sent into a different train where they crisscross. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess it's entertaining. It adds a little bit of reality to the whole train situation. Tonight was a good one though. We sold a few things. I totally overlisted. I couldn't get to all my pre-bids because I thought it was a longer train than it was, put too many items in. Again, my fault for not paying attention. 100%, like I just didn't do very good. These two people, it was Vintage Hive in Virginia and PBJ Bargain will probably never invite me back to a train again. They're probably like, man, that girl's a hot mess. She is not coming back. If this was a CG train, I would be like having bad check marks on her spreadsheet right now. So not my normal raid train experience, but mistakes. There you go. They're just, that's it. That just put a positive spin on it. I mean, it could have been so much worse. So this morning we talked about metrics that matter. We went a little off course and I didn't really talk about my notes, but we did talk a lot about metrics. So I was really happy with it. Rainy D, hello. So tonight I want to talk about tracking your expenses and like best hints and tips and just different things about tracking expenses. Oh, were you, Crystals? I'm sorry. I was rushing at the end. I even cut the time down. I was trying. But all of those items, all of the items that I didn't get to are going to be a Monday and Wednesday show this week in the morning. So, because they're already listed. I'm not wasting all that effort. They're going into shows this week. I want you to think about the last 30 days. And you don't need to put a number, just yes or no if you could answer this question. Do you know exactly how much you have spent on supplies in the last 30 days? Like, let's say shipping supplies. Let's just keep it simple. Exactly, like off the top of your head. Or could you just pull one piece of paper and know exactly what you spent on shipping supplies? Oh, thank you, Forgotten Memories. Too much, not off the top, but it's in your Excel, okay. I did not spend $500 on shipping supplies. A lot of, yes.
No, that was me.
No, you better not have spent $500 on shipping supplies. He likes to think he's like running this business, but then he's like, I don't know, it's your business. So most people cannot say how much they've spent. And that's the whole kind of thing about tracking your expenses, right? It's being able to at least once a month understand and see where you are, what you're spending, if it's too much, if it's not enough, how it compares to the income. We know who the boss is, that's right. And most people do not do that. So those of you who are like, hey, I can go look at my spreadsheet and get that information, or hey, I can pull it out of QuickBooks if you're using QuickBooks, or I can go to my ledger if you're using pencil and paper, you are far ahead of many, many, many people on Whatnot. Because the more I do these type of shows and the more I talk to people, the more I realize that very, very few people are actually tracking anything at all, which just makes me wonder, how do you make decisions? But I want to talk about that, how weekly tracking beats monthly stress. So if we break this down, again, and the other day we talked about time blocking and doing things in small chunks. Your bookkeeping is no different. Your tracking your expenses is no different. If you spend 5 to 10 minutes a week, that could save you 10 hours come tax time. So a little habit of 5 to 10 minutes every single week is going to put you much farther ahead, and it adds up. Those little things add up. And the reason why a lot of people, I think, don't do this is because how many times have you heard somebody say, oh, you know what sounds like fun? Let's go do some bookkeeping. Nobody says that, but geeky accountants, right? So nobody is really saying this. So what happens is it's not fun, so we push it off and push it off. Oh, I'll get to it. I'll do it. Crystals, yes, but you're an accountant. You're bookkeeper. Hold on. You told me before there's a specific in your state title. I think it's bookkeeper is the proper term for your state. I'm trying to use the right terminology because you had let me know that before. So you're kind of one of us. You're like me. But on the most part, most people don't like to do this. So they put it off and put it off. But you know what people do like? They like at tax time not paying a big old tax bill. So it's kind of like everybody wants their cake and to eat it too. They don't want to spend the time during like every week or during the month to do tracking their expenses, do their bookkeeping, but come tax time, they want to reap the benefits and not have to pay a whole lot of taxes. I also set up a note in your phone so you can add expenses and mileage into it and not forget all of it when it comes to. That's perfect. I love that. Anything you can do to make it easier for yourself. All of these little hints and tips to make it easier. I'm working on an AI that we can just talk to in the phone and then it automatically throws it onto a spreadsheet. That's what I really want, so that I don't have to like actually type it. Can you make that for me? Thank you. That's like another project for my husband. Absolutely. Now, I don't write it down. So for mileage, if we're going to talk about mileage really quick, I don't write it down in the car. I'm not that good. I'm just not. But I do sit down once a week and I can remember for 7 days if I went to the post office or if I went sourcing. I can look back on the calendar for a week's worth of time and know what I drove. And I go to the same places more often than not. So I just have a list of where I normally go and how many miles it is round trip. Probably the most ideal thing is to write it down while you're doing it. But if you're staying on top of it at least weekly, you probably can remember that. Yep, he needs another server just for me. So, would you rather Facebook sourcing? So you go all over. Yeah, see, I don't do a lot of Facebook sourcing. Y'all, I got kicked off of Facebook. If you don't know, I got banned from Facebook. Terrible Tracy, because I broke the rules. Yes, I was like wild and crazy, and I listed a knife that wasn't supposed to be listed, and I got my hand slapped. And then I was using Vendoo and actually did like automatic relist and forgot the knife was in there and listed it a second time and whatnot, said, see you later, you are not welcome here anymore. So I waited like a year and then I created another account with a different email, but I don't go on there because it bothers me. So I can't seem to source on Facebook, totally off topic. I only set up another account so that I could try to source and find things. I just do not, it is not a skill I have. I need like somebody to teach me how to source on Facebook. You avoid the whatnot groups? Okay, yeah, I know, I was like crazy. I was like living on the edge listing a pocket knife. The thing didn't even open. It was a rusty folded up pocket knife, like vintage. It didn't even open. But anyways, got me banned from Facebook. So that's my like crazy story, right? Next time we're together, I'm going to have to sit down and have him teach me, because I search and search and search and just seem to never find anything. And then I'm like, I'm not wasting all this time doing this. So I have a question for you guys. For those of you who maybe are like, you don't find anything, okay, now I don't feel bad. For those of you who are like, hey, maybe I need to track things a little bit better, do it a little bit more. What is your biggest obstacle? Yes, looking at Facebook Marketplace. I don't have luck on there. What is your biggest obstacle to tracking expenses? Anybody have obstacles? Anybody's like, I would do this more often, but your old brain forgets. I am terrible about putting all my receipts in the bottom of my purse. And then like once a week, I pull this big old glob of receipts out. I'm like, ugh. Oh, forgotten memories. Oh, you need your hand slap for that one. You got to separate. You got to keep it separate. So what I would challenge you to do is to think about what is your biggest obstacle and what is one thing you can implement. Good evening, Medic Girl. What is one thing you can implement that would help you overcome that obstacle? So for me, it's all the receipts in my purse. I now have a basket set up next to my desk so that I can put them in there, and they're staring at me all day long, reminding me, hey, you got to enter me, you got to enter me. So I have found that's working for me and keeping me a little more accountable. From your bank account. Now that's a good workaround. Then you don't have to worry about it. You still have to kind of go back and review it and make sure it's coded right, but at least it's in there. Like at Walmart, I need packing paper and food, and I just pay once to get out. And this is what I'm going to talk about. This is where we start missing expenses. We start missing the little things. Because if you buy packing paper, I don't know how much it is at Walmart. I'm going to say $10. And you buy some food and your food's maybe $50. You're like, $10. Oh, it's not too big. It's okay. I'll just throw the receipt away. I'll get to it later. Well, think about if you do that once a week for 52 weeks, that's $520. $10 once a week. All those little things. So what happens is we don't forget the big stuff. We spend $500 on something. By God, every time I look at that, I'm going to remember I spent $500 on it. But it's the $5 here, the $10 here. That is easy to overlook. It's easy to be like, oh, it's only $5. And we don't think about how many times we actually do that and how much money that's really costing us. That's where the note, perfect. That's where the note thing. $2 receipts add up. Absolutely. He's giving me a look. I do not know why he does this. He gives me this look, and I'm like, should I stop talking? Should I not? I'm just going to keep going. So one of the things when we're tracking our expenses that's really important is making sure our categories stay consistent. So at hopefully the beginning of the year, when you set up your business, you establish some type of expense categories. Shipping, software. He's over there giving me crap for a big sourcing trip I went on. So you should have set up categories. Hopefully when you first started your business, or at least at the beginning of the year, you should review it. So their main categories: shipping, software, telephone expense, shipping supplies. So all of these things that you're using to track your all of your expenses. And the key to those are to make sure they're consistent. So this is one of the things that a lot of people miss. They will do like bubble wrap, and 1 month they'll make it shipping supplies, and then they buy bubble wrap, and then they make it packing material as the category. Then maybe they do it again and they call it something else. Well, if we're not being consistent, that's that word, consistency in everything. If we're not being consistent and always categorizing things the correct way, our information is kind of useless. It kind of becomes just not usable at that point. Because if you have bubble wrap mixed up in 4 different categories, you can't really just look at one category and say, oh, this is truly what my shipping expenses were, and compare that to other things. So part of that is also keeping it consistent is being able to measure month over month over month. Meta girl, you got that giveaway. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So having those consistent categories allows you to look at, hey, how much did I spend in shipping or whatever your software expenses, like where you may record all your Vendoo and all of that stuff, Vendoo and Spotify and whatever other Canva, these subscriptions that you have. And if you're looking at that in January and then you look at it in February and March, if it's not consistent, those discrepancies will never pop out at you. You won't know if all of a sudden Canva just automatically charged your card twice as much as it's supposed to, right? So keeping your categories consistent allows you to recognize patterns and look at that tracking on a month-to-month basis. And I'm like totally losing my train of thought here, y'all. He is so distracting. All day today I've been wanting to like just pawn my husband off on somebody. How many of you have consistent categories that you use on a regular basis? And this is actually one of those areas that I say less is more in. The simpler you have your categories, you don't need 50 ways of classifying your expenses. We're pretty much small businesses. We don't need 50. If you have to, every time you spend money, have to think, okay, I've got 50 choices of where this can go. And thank you, Southern Charm. Hello, Vintage Gypsy Bree. If you have 50 choices on where you're going to categorize something, that becomes mentally taxing and overwhelming. The average reseller probably should have about 8 to 10 categories to put their expenses in. Do you guys pretty much have consistent categories that you're doing, or you're like, what the hell are you even talking about? Just curious. Yes, crystals, I'm not surprised. I have like 8 categories that I use. That's it. Because I don't need to drill down into the itty bitty details. I need higher level information. All of my shipping goes into one category. I don't care. I'm not going to put Canva in its own category. All of the software goes in one category. All of my cost of goods is in one category. It just makes it so much easier when we're tracking. We talked about small expenses adding up. Just a suggestion, I created my expense list according to the IRS profit or loss form. 100%. That is one of the things that I recommend all the time when people say, well, what categories do I use? What do I know to set up? Take a Schedule C, look at the categories they have. Now they have about 20 or so on there. Not all of them are going to be applicable to reselling businesses, but look at those. And then when you go to do your taxes, you already have this information and it transfers nice and easy. I love that suggestion. It's one that I use frequently. We use Excel from you, is already done for us. There you go. So you're using about the same ones that I am, because I use that exact same Excel Forgotten Memories to do my accounting. So if you don't know what Forgotten Memories, I'll pin it really quick. I actually pulled it out and did a separate listing for it for this show. Right here, I'm going to pin it. This is the Excel that I use. It is in one of the, if you have the access to the full library, it's in the library, but that's the Excel that I use. You can track revenue, expenses, mileage, and it gives you a little summary. Now the summary on the last tab is going to give you like year to date, what your revenue is, what your expenses are, and kind of break it down month by month at a net profit. It is not a true profit and loss. It is very high level. It's going to add all of your revenue and all of your expenses, and then your net is just going to be the difference between the two. So it will look different come tax time when you start pulling out how much inventory you actually have, but it's a good high level judgment way to kind of base month after month when you're looking at, are things consistent, are my expenses getting out of control, is my revenue, am I hitting my revenue goals where I need to be, is it growing like I want it to, or am I staying consistent like I need it to be. So it is a really good sheet to just to keep it a basic accounting. I don't think we need fancy accounting. Nothing against QuickBooks, nothing against Reseller Genie. If you're using those, that's great if that's what works for you. But most of us don't need it to be that fancy. I actually used QuickBooks for a year and then backed off of it because it was just, had a bunch of features I didn't use, and I'm like, it's overkill for me. I'm paying for stuff that I just don't really need. Some of the categories on the tax form seem to cross over. That was confusing. Some of them do. There's some of them are subjective, because everything with the IRS, well, they have regulations. There's always this gray area that you have to decide on what you're going to do. I do a lot of volunteer work. Would this Excel sheet work for tracking donations? It does not. This is purely for business. So all of your volunteer work and donations would be personal. So that would have to be tracked separately. You like your spreadsheet, Southern Charm? That's awesome. If you guys have questions or anything, please feel free to ask. Always happy to try to answer any questions. You could duplicate. You could have two of the Excel worksheets and keep one for business, one for personal, and then you can keep track of stuff that way. That would work. Like shipping supplies, and it talked about startup costs, but we ended up getting through it and had actually gotten money back. That's great. So shipping supplies, regular supplies, they just have a line that says supplies, and then there's a line, I think, that says office. I don't have it in front of me to say exactly what they are. We don't need to pull it up. And startup cost for Whatnot, it kind of depends. I mean, this isn't specific advice to any one person, but if you start Whatnot for startup cost, generally, if you're classified as a small business, there are specific amount of startup costs that you are allowed to deduct in the first year that you are operating your business. So these are costs that you incur before you actually start your business. It's not that it's a different rule for Whatnot, but it doesn't make sense to do that much accounting for the small amount that most resellers have. So those startup costs, those IRS regulations were really put in place for people like opening brick and mortars, starting like larger, more physical businesses where you're having to outlay a lot of money at the front. You're buying shelving, you're buying equipment, you're buying all the fixtures and all the mannequins if it's like a boutique store. So you're outlaying all this money before you ever even open your doors. That would be startup cost. For us, our startup cost is usually maybe a couple weeks of sourcing, maybe a month of sourcing, and then we start selling. There's so much more minimal that we can say, hey, I started my business the day I started sourcing, as long as that's a pretty short time frame, and the IRS would accept that. Yeah, just said it was zero. Crystal says, I only use QuickBooks because as a pro advisor, I get basic QuickBooks very cheap. I've used QuickBooks for years and years and years and years. There is nothing wrong with it. I just felt it was overkill for me. But as a CPA, I love it when clients use it because then I can log in and look at their stuff. So if you're using QuickBooks, it is a benefit to you where you can give a CPA access where they can't really change anything, but it allows them to pull reports right from your software. So that's a benefit from using some of that software. It does make it easier. at tax time. QuickBooks overstimulates you. Part of the reason I don't like QuickBooks is that it was not made for ledger accounting. It was not made for the debits and credits. That's what runs on the back end of QuickBooks. That's how it's set up. It goes by the basic accounting equation. But the interface is like you're writing a check and you're sending an invoice. It's more the day-to-day business. And my mind doesn't, I can comprehend that, but I want just to be able to do journal entries. I want to just record it in the way that I do as an accountant and not go through the extra steps of the interface. That's why I end up pulling back from it. I'm like, it's too many steps when I can just do a journal entry. So, and it is not, I agree with Crystals. The old desktop version of QuickBooks used to be super user-friendly. And the minute they put it solely online, it went downhill from there. Absolutely went downhill. So we're kind of talking about, my next question is, what are you all currently using? So we've seen QuickBooks. We have a couple of people who are using Excel. What are the rest of you using? If you haven't answered a question yet, what do you use to track your accounting? I'm curious if there's anything outside of QuickBooks and Excel, because that's our two top contenders right now. GoDaddy used to have an amazing user. Really? Oh, I didn't know that. Nothing. MetaGirl, get it together. Yes, you got to get it together. Absolutely. 100%, like now. What about the rest of you? What are you using? Does anybody use Reseller Genie? Just curious. I see the guy who wrote Reseller Genie, or who created the software, is on Philly Flipper show. He has him on there every now and then, a lot during tax season. I've never used that software. Oh, MetaGirl, that's awesome. Thank you. Forgotten Memories, you tried it, didn't you? And then decided you didn't like it. I know Crystal tried it out, Crystal's Vintage, and more confusing. Yep, I was just about to say that you found it not as user-friendly. I have never used it, so I can't talk about it. You gotta, and I say this a million times, most of you already know that, you need to figure out what works for you and use what works for you. I will never endorse a software. I'll never be, if I tell you it's because I use it and I like certain features, it has to work for you. Whatever system you're doing. And the main thing is keeping it consistent and doing it on a regular basis, like we were talking about. Yeah, I like Excel too. It's just easier. And especially if you know how to manipulate Excel, you can do pivot tables, you can get all the information. Thank you for your purchase from the bin. You can get all the information you need out of there. You don't sell on the platforms that they support. Reseller Genie? I don't know what platforms they support. QuickBooks, one of the things I did not like about QuickBooks was the level that I was paying for only allowed me to link to one platform. And at that time, I was selling on at least 3 platforms, so I didn't like the fact that I was limited to one, and then it was manual entry on the others. I found that limiting, but that's no different than when you're like buying AI software and you got credits. There's always some sort of limitation on the software, something that you either have to pay more money to get access to. This is one of the big reasons, and those of you already doing your books, you got this, you know this, but one of the big reasons I'm so adamant about this, I don't link to the platform, I manually, okay. So you don't have it pull in the information. When I used QuickBooks, I had it linked to Etsy at the time, and it was overkill. The amount of accounts that they pulled in and the way they did it, I did not like it whatsoever. Only your bank. I did find that useful because instead of having to go through my bank, it would just pull it in there. I could do a quick reconciliation. I did like that it linked to the bank account. Awareness, when you're actually keeping track of your expenses, it absolutely leads to better business decisions. So this kind of loops back to where we started, but when you know what you're spending money on, you can then you go from saying, hey, can I afford this, to looking at money in a different way and looking at your expenses as, should I buy this? It's not so much, can I afford this? Should I buy this? Is it going to help me in my business? Is it the best use of the money? When you don't track your money at all, when you're not tracking any of your expenses, it's like, can I afford this? What do I have? Well, should I do this? There's a lot of confusion and a lot of just mystery around it that shouldn't exist. We should be able to take all of that out and be able to make clear-cut decisions and look at something and say, yes, I can do this. A recent example for me is in this remodel of our studio. When I remodel, I'm like, I want new art. Who's going to get that, Givy? Don Terry, congratulations, you got that giveaway.
Congratulations.
So when I remodel a space, and when I say remodel, we're just changing the way we're utilizing the rooms. We're not building anything. I want new artwork, new furniture. Oh yeah, I want to shop. I want to go and redesign everything. I'm out with the old and in with the new when I move things around like that. I was very cautious though, because this time it's not Tracy's budget. This time it's the business budget, and I'm looking at the business, and because I keep track of my finances, I had all kinds of fancy shipping tables and carts and all of this picked out, and in my Amazon list, and I'm like, that's adding up to a lot of money. If I spend this much money here, that means I have less money to buy inventory with. And it really was glaring me in the face. And so I pulled back. I bought a lot less than what I was planning on. But you can't do that if you're not tracking your finances. I do have financial goals for my business. And I am hell-bent working on these extremely hard to reach my financial goals. Do you need a table? I do want a table, but I wanted an adjustable shipping table because right now I use a folding table. That's just a cheapy plastic folding table from Walmart. It's worked for 2.5 years for Whatnot. The problem is it's a little low. And if I'm there for more than a couple of hours, my back really starts hurting. It's just not the right height for shipping for me. So yeah, it's kind of like an adjustable desk. So I did buy a 9-foot long shipping table that is adjustable, not electronic. I have to manually adjust it, but I can set it to a better height. Was pallets and plywood. There you go. Now, the only things I bought for the remodel is the shipping table, one shipping table. I bought rolling carts because we're moving out to a spot where I need rolling carts, and a new table. And we were going to replace this table anyways because this is really wobbly. But other than that, I pulled way back. Trust me, I had way more in my cart, way more. I'm actually very proud of myself that I did not spend as much money as I wanted to. So, but that's because of awareness. That's because I knew where I was with my finances. And when we talk about goals, this is a little off of the expenses and best practices for expenses. But Crystal says, oh, and you have financial goals. I really do. And we're going to talk a lot about goals next Friday morning. And I have goals to the point of I know exactly what shows I'm running each week. I know exactly what the dollar amount is I want to make on each show, how many items I should sell at what average order value to reach that dollar amount, written out week by week by week from now until December, and incrementally that grows. So maybe this week was 120 items I needed to sell at a $15 average order value. Now, is everything going to sell at that average order value? No, but some is going to go higher, some is going to go lower. I'm going to look overall at an average. And then maybe next week it's 130, and maybe I'll stay at 130 for a couple of weeks, and then it goes to 150, up to the point where I'm selling 350 items a week by the end of December, spread over various shows in different formats. And by doing that, I am able to actually see the projected income week by week and then tie that to the expenses. You're going on strike. But it also allows for slow, gradual growth. The reason I'm not just oh, my goal is to do 330 items, let's just see if I can reach that goal right now every single week, is I don't have the systems in place to maintain that right now. And having a small incremental steps over the course of 6 months allows me to practice my sourcing, to get that down pat in order to source more, to practice the shipping side of it, to practice the scheduling and the work-life balance side of it, to take this just bits and pieces. We talked about it this morning, to take this bits and pieces at a time so that the growth, the systems that are put in place evolve with the growth. And I'm not just all of a sudden trying to do the same thing I do with 100 items a week and taking and trying to apply that to 300 items a week, because that won't work, and then you burn out and everything falls apart. You start making mistakes, shipping the wrong things, whatever it may be. So I know that's off the topic of expenses, but it's really important when we start setting our goals and looking at how do we get to that goal. It's very incremental. And I may pull up one of these days, I may pull up a spreadsheet and kind of show a projection on how that looks. It's not as confusing as it sounds. It's actually really easy to do. I am a firm 100% believer that we dictate and control the amount of money we make. If you know you can go on for 2 hours and normally make $200 and you do that once a week, well, what happens if you want to make 400? Can you duplicate it? Can you do that twice a week? So you start to realize that you are in control of the generation of that revenue, of generating it. Then it becomes a very powerful, freeing feeling. If you grow too quickly, then the cracks in your system start, oh, absolutely, they're ugly, head, fast and furious. And it does include your financials. Because what's one of the first things you're going to do? If you start growing too quickly, you're going to start pulling back on anything that's not fun. We already established most people don't like doing their bookkeeping. So that's going to get pushed to the bottom of the to-do list. So you're not going to be monitoring that. And if you're growing, you're spending more money, you're sourcing more, you're shipping more, buying more supplies. So you're not tracking it, but now you have more outflow, and it just starts like a snowball effect. And you wake up one day and you're kind of like, what the heck happened to my business? Why am I not profitable? What's going on? Why am I burnt out? Scaling back our monthly expenses quick enough to keep our business intact was extremely hard. I can imagine how hard it was and stressful it is. And I know this sounds a little bougie, and I'm not saying it to sound bougie, but I mean, this has been on my mind a lot about the expenses and being responsible and fiscally responsible within your business. I was very open and just very transparent about our house hunting and looking for a house to run the business out of. And the ultimate decision that why I didn't want to do that financially where I'm at in my business, and instead to redo my basement, like rearrange the way that we use our basement in order to accommodate the business. Not only is that allowing me to stay in the space I'm already paying for, it's the roof over my head, I'm already paying for this space, it allows me to stay here, but it also allows me to get rid of the storage unit that all of my Christmas and personal things are in. So instead of adding on additional expenses in this decision, I'm actually saving myself $100 a month once I get rid of that storage unit. So looking at what you have, how to utilize it, even if it's not the most comfortable decision, sometimes is the best decision. Thank you so much. I love discounts. It's definitely not the decision I wanted to make. I love discounts and Southern Charm have been here and seen our layout, but we have a finished basement. It has a bedroom, has a little kitchenette, a little like area where you can watch TV, and a bathroom. It made a great like mother-in-law type suite. And we used it as a guest quarter. So guests can come and kind of have their own private like little apartment kind of feel. And feel comfortable if they wanted to get up and walk to the bathroom in their underwear or whatever, because it was like private down here for them. And I didn't want to give that up. We love having people come and stay with us. And I didn't want to give that up. Even to this day, sitting here, I'm a little like heartbroken that I don't have that right now, that my business is now taking over that space. I have a guest room upstairs. People can still come and stay, but it's not the same. And I know that's coming across very bougie. It's not the way I intend it to be. But the smart decision for me was I can have a space for guests and then go pay thousands of dollars. And what I was looking at was $3,000 to $4,000 additional a month to have a business space outside my home. Or I could take that $3,000 to $4,000, invest in inventory, grow my business in other ways. Eventually, my goal, my thinking is, and this is a lot of motivation to me right now, is I will outgrow this basement space, hopefully in about a year and a half. I should outgrow this, at which point I should be hitting those financial goals I've set for myself and not think twice about going and buying another building. Where right now it was like, you know, yep, you guys have to share a bed. That's it. Absolutely. So those are the type of decisions that we go through and we think about when we're in a business. One of the things that really went in my head, how many people here know Engelon or have watched Engelon? Pretty famous seller. I know some of the people here know who she is. One of the things I thought about, because logically, I can think all the money. I know the money side of it. I can write that down. I see the pros and cons. My heart says otherwise. My heart is like, I don't want to give up my guest space. I want this. I want that. I kept thinking about her and her Instagram, and I know social media can be kind of fake, but she runs a 6-figure business out of her living room. She's in Florida. I can guarantee she doesn't have a basement in Florida. I lived in Florida. Very few houses have basements in Florida. She sells 1,000 items at a time, if not hundreds to 1,000 items at a time. There you go. I Love Discounts has actually been there and seen her house. She is running this, 6-figure business out of her home without a basement. And here I am with a 1,200 square foot basement. I can make it work. And I sat there one day and I'm like, and this is a way of using comparison in a good way, right? Using comparison to help you. I'm like, I don't need to be that stuck on another place. As much as I think it's a great idea, this can work. You can take what you have. And I say the same thing, and I know coming from somebody who has a basement, you're like, oh, but I'm in a 2-bedroom apartment. Some of you may be sitting there saying that or something like that. You can still take what you have to the most part. There's ways, even if it involves hard decisions and giving something up, you could turn a closet into a shipping station. You could get some type of Rubbermaid tubs to put your towels in and turn your linen closet into a shipping station if you had to. There's ways to be creative about saving money, particularly at the beginning of your journey in your business, and even more so. I often look at Green 13 too. I've been out to his warehouse. He has the jankiest table ever, and his lights are $5 from Walmart. He's not out there being like, I need the biggest, best production studio. It's like, what can I get for free? What can I get for cheap? That works, that does its job, and lets me keep running my business. Do I always recommend that? Maybe not, but it's not a bad perspective to have, particularly in those first few years when you're really starting to grow. It's not, I Love Discounts said their shipping used to be pallets and a plywood, right? So it's not, when we're thinking about our expenses, don't be ashamed. Don't feel bad if you're like, well, I don't have the fancy stuff. I don't have the Rollo printer. I have the Amazon printer. I have an Amazon printer too. It works just fine. Meanwhile, I have expensive lights and can't get them right. Exactly. Do you suggest having a separate account or credit card for the business expenses? I just buy what I need. It's all business. Absolutely, 100%. That's the very first thing you should do. Separate out the business money from the personal money. 100%. I often do, I don't have the stuff here, but I often do an example, a visual example when I'm asked this question. Imagine I have a glass of water and a glass of orange juice, okay? The water is your personal and the orange juice is your business expenses. If I poured both of them into a cup and mixed it all up and then say, here, tell me how much you spent on shipping, you really wouldn't be able to. I can guarantee you by not separating it, you are costing yourself money at tax time, that you're overpaying taxes, overpaying with federal withholding and self-employment taxes because you are missing stuff because it's commingled with your personal. Guarantee you. Orange juice is 99% water. It makes a good visual, okay? It just makes a good visual effect. So that is the very first thing that I suggest somebody do when they start a business. Separate it completely. And you do not need to get a business bank account. You need a separate account. I don't have one in my business name. I had a savings account that I wasn't really using, and I'm like, you know what? That's my business account from now on. Only business expenses out of there. What you need is the literal separation of the funds. It doesn't need to be titled in a business name. Banks can get a little funny about that. It's easier just to have a personal account. Now, if you need checks with your business name, stuff like that, you need to go and do it right, but who writes checks anymore? So you can get by without doing a pure, an official business account. Just use a personal account, but keep it separate. Same thing for a credit card. If you have 2 Visa accounts, put one as your business and one as your personal, and then do not mix it up. And don't do forgotten memories. When you go to Walmart and you buy your food and you buy your shipping supplies, just do 2 transactions, business and personal. Yes, and then transfer money into your personal account when you need it for yourself. Keep it clean. If you run low on your business money, so just decide an amount and put it in the business account. Yes. So just to start it off with, take whatever you think money you have earned in your business. If you have $200, 500, 1,000, go put it in that account. That's your business money. Then if you go run through that money, if you're not making a net profit, you're just having some cash flow in there, but you need more money, then you physically have to think, all right, I need to take personal money and put it into my business account. That right there is eye-opening. Because right now with it mixed up, all you see is one number in the bank of, oh, I've got some money, and you're spending it. It's not like, oh, I'm spending my business money. It's just money. And it's so easy to overspend, to not track your expenses when it's mixed up. I keep my pay in your left pocket as long as it's separate, So absolutely 2 separate accounts. And then when, like I said, when you need money to put in, if you're running low on your business, it makes you stop and think, how often do you have to do that? So if you're like, okay, I'm going to start this with $1,000, and then next month you're like, man, I don't really have any money, but I need to source. I'm going to need to pull in more personal money. And if that happens over and over, then it makes you stop and say, wait a minute, how come I'm never having any money in my business? What am I doing wrong? Do I need to change my sourcing? Do I need to change the expenses? Do I need to increase the amount I'm putting in there? So it really makes it's very eye-opening when you have to do that. And then, like Forgotten Memories pointed out, if you, yes, absolutely, Miranda, it does. It has everything you would need to track for taxes. It does not do inventory. So I have a separate one that's an inventory tracker, but it will do your cost of goods in total. So the other thing is too, if you're accumulating money in your business account and you're like, you know what, I do whatnot so that I can have extra money, and I want some of my business money so I can go on vacation or go do this fun thing, then you physically transfer it from your business account to your personal account. Unless you're blowing it out of the water, I can guarantee you are going to have very little transfers going from business to personal. You will probably have more transfers going from personal to business. You are going to find yourself in the first year or two of business probably putting more money in than you were taking out. You just don't realize that's what's happening when it's all mixed together. Meetups are, yes, thank you, my love. Meetups are business trips. So even if you're only meeting with one other person, yes, if it's for a business reason. So tripod, if you travel, I don't know exactly where you are, but if you travel to Coastal Peacock and it is for the purpose of conducting business, then that is deductible. Now, if it's part business, part personal, then you need to allocate it appropriately for ice cream. Now, meals are only 50% and they have to be over a business purpose. Like you dropped off a package and then bought. Yes, absolutely. You sourced. You delivered something. Thank you for your purchase from the bin. You delivered and you sourced. All of that's mileage. If you have a hotel, that's deductible. Again, meals are only 50% and it's only for you unless your spouse is actively engaged in the business. So if my husband didn't work in my business whatsoever and me and him went to the Austin, the Seller Summit, the Whatnot Summit, his portion of the airline and his food would not be deductible because he doesn't actively participate in the business. But because he does actively participate, both of our airline tickets, our hotel, 50% of the food that we purchased is all deductible. If we had, did we rent a car when we went? We did rent a car. So the car rental, the gas we put in the car for the rental of that, all of that's deductible because going to the Seller Summit was a pure business expense. Does that mean that you can never have fun? No, we went out to dinner with I Love Discounts. That's still, there's no part of that. Like you're doing business the majority of the day, then you go out to dinner. It's still deductible. Now, if you go on vacation for 3 days, that's business, you're sourcing. Say you go to like one of the big yard sales that they have, and you go for 3 days, and then you decide to take the next 3 days just for your family at the beach. The first 3 days are deductible. The second 3 days are not. So you just be honest about it. You segregate it. You separate all the expenses to what was actually when business was occurring compared to when it was not. And you talked rate trains. Yeah, completely legitimate. Now keep track of that. I would, in case you're ever questioned about it, just in case, I would put the business purpose of that trip. I would say it was to pick up things, to make a delivery, and we discussed, business plans for 2026, our projections for 2026 or something like that. You don't have to write a paragraph, but a couple of words in case you're ever questioned, at least you remember what it was. Do I need to DM you? Yes, you do. If you did purchase it, you do need to DM me. Thank you. I wouldn't say save the messages tripod. Just make a little note of it, where you track your expenses for that. When you're tracking an expense, you need the date of the expense, the amount, obviously, who you bought it from. So if it was from Walmart or if it was the name of the hotel you stayed at, and a business purpose and the category you're putting it in. A lot of times, the category speaks for itself. If I go and buy bubble wrap from Sam's Club and I put it in shipping expenses, I don't need to put that I bought bubble wrap. It's on 6/1, I spent $80 at Sam's Club, it's a shipping expense. I know that's what I buy at Sam's Club for the business. But if I went to Walmart and I spent $80 at Walmart on 6/1, there's a lot of stuff I could have bought there that's not business. I may not remember what I bought. So I'm going to jot it down under description, a note or two, in case I'm ever questioned. I can legitimately say, oh no, I wasn't buying popsicles. I was buying, boxes or packing tape or whatever it is. So if I wanted to visit my friend in another state who has really good thrift store in her area and I'm flying there, how much of the trip I can deduct? That depends on how much of the trip is for a business purpose and how much of it is for a personal purpose. So if your main reason of going is to source and the majority of your days are spent sourcing, you can deduct all of that trip. It's just a bonus that you happen to stay with a friend and you get a little bit of enjoyment out of it. Now, if you're going and you're hanging out, you're going for 5 days, you go to one thrift store, I don't think you could justify telling the IRS that your airline, you needed to spend an airline to go to one thrift store for an hour, right? A lot of it is just thinking about it in a logical manner. And could you explain it to somebody without justifying it? Think about it like when you talk to your teenager, if any of you have teenagers, and you ask them, where have you been? And they're like, oh, I walked over to Sarah's house and we did this and we watched TV and we played Monopoly and then I came home. Or very straightforward answer, they can verify this, Sarah's mom messaged me. Or you're like, well, I think I went to Sarah's house, and as a parent, you're going, girl, what were you really doing, right? It's the IRS. Think of you're talking to the IRS. They're going to look at it the same way. If you have spreadsheets for sale that has this information, we can write down to keep track. I do. So Modern Elegance, the spreadsheet, this one here, we'll pin it up real quick. This one will track your revenue, your expenses, give you a high-level summary that you could then use for your taxes at year end. And your mileage. It also will give you a place to record your mileage. Thank you for your purchase. And then that is the same one. If you were to buy the complete library that has access to 31 different guides and Excels, that is included in there. There's also an inventory one, and then there's a lot of just general information. All the stuff I talk about broken down by topics. So, and until we see more questions, all of the stuff I talk about, I am actually writing a book, you guys. The inventory one, you can buy the inventory one separately. Here, let me pin it. It's the same price. You can buy it separately. You just have to look right here. Right here. This is the one, there's 31 to choose from, and this is to buy them individually. But honestly, if you buy more than 4 or 5, you're better off just buying the whole library, then you get all of them. It's more cost efficient. I am a CPA. So I'm a CPA licensed in Pennsylvania and Maryland. I got my license in 2013. I have a master's degree in taxation, and I've worked as a CFO for many years in a nonprofit until I transitioned into public accounting, where I have I've worked at a tax firm. I've worked in a public accounting firm as a tax preparer, and most recently as an auditor. And now I write training materials for our auditors for a global company. So that's my very shortened version of my resume right there. Oh, thank you so much, Modern Elegance. I appreciate that. I always have the stuff that's in my shop right now. This is my Friday stuff. So Friday mornings, Friday nights this is the stuff that I put in there. I usually don't put my vintage stuff in when I'm doing talk shows like this. The whole library is this one right here. This is the whole library. So right now it's 31 either PDFs or Excel sheets. There's a combination of that. And so you get access to all of that and anything I ever put in the future. It is a Dropbox account, so you just continually have access to anything I put in there. And I usually will put in about one a month. So someone may have already asked, but I was wondering about whether you could deduct travel if you go. Yes, absolutely you can. Virginia Vintage. So we were just talking about that. If you're traveling locally, you're just going out to source, you're going over to the antique mall, to a garage sale, whatever, that's your mileage. Keep track of your mileage. If you are going on, what's the big one? Southern Charm or I Love Discounts, help me out. Is it the 127? 127. If you are actually going on a trip like the 127, where you may be gone for a few days, you're going to have hotel stays, you may have to fly there, rent a car. Hello, Josie. That would be deductible too, because you are going to source. So if you're driving your own vehicle, all the mileage for that, your hotels, if you're flying and renting a car, all of that is deductible because it is you are there to source, to buy for your business. Do you keep a record and a spreadsheet of what you spend on items that you source? So that would be your inventory, MetaGirl. Absolutely, I do. You should be tracking your inventory. You do not have to track item by item by item. Think about the sellers who sell 1,000 things a week. There is no way that they are tracking item by item. Think about a pallet seller who gets 30,000, Mighty Patches in a pallet. They're not going to write each and every one of them down. So it depends where you are in your business. If you're just buying 20 or 30 items a week, having a show, you may want to do it item by item. But I did, and I like it. I made it easier. Did you just watch a roundtable? Thank you. We'll talk about the roundtable in a minute. But if you're buying in bulk, you're buying big, larger purchases, you can put that as just one inventory item. So I bought a Fenton collection. I spent $1,500 on a Fenton collection. I didn't put every single piece down. I put $1,500 on the Fenton collection. And when I sell it, I'll go and look at, I have an average price per item. I know what that is. And so you can track it in bulk that way. What you need to track is where you started with your inventory. It's either zero or whatever was on your tax return last year, what you add and what you take away. And that's going to give you your ending. Those are the main things you need to track. And small shoe so far. Okay. He's going to say something. He gave me that look. Do that. Modern Elegance, you did all the guides and the single one. Cancel the $5 one because that's included in all the guides. So cancel that $5 one and I'll approve it. That way you're not overspending. Thank you so much. I try to be helpful. If you guys have any other questions, I don't know if I have a whole lot more. I don't have a whole lot more to talk about. I was going to tell you, I am writing a book for those of you who have not heard. I'm probably about 3/4 of the way through it. I am hope to release it January 2nd. I think it is January 2nd. I have a show already scheduled that says like book debut. I will move that up if I get it done ahead of time. But basically all the stuff that we talk about on Fridays, my 52-week series, I'm kind of condensing into like 12 main topics about reselling. So a little bit of everything. It's going to be some about the production side, some about the show side, obviously a lot about the business side. But that's coming out. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm having fun going through it and writing it and putting some personal stories about my journey in there. So
very nice, Josie. And question, Graham's House 76, are you still around? Can you check your email, your DM if you're still around, please?
No. Perfect. I'll approve. As soon as this show's over, I'll hit approve so that money goes right back to you. So I'm looking forward to releasing the book. It's something I've always wanted to do, but never It's like ever since I was probably a teenager, wanted to write a book, but never quite knew what to write it about. So it's always been something in the back of my head. And during these Friday tax, business and tax shows, it just kind of evolved into finally like, I know what I'm going to do now. Took 50 something years, but I'm finally there. How far back do I go with records? I have been inactive for about 3 years, and I'm just setting up to start again more seriously. So I would assume that 3 years ago when you were selling, you filed a Schedule C at that point. I'm just going to assume that that's how you did it. You can tell me if I'm wrong. I will have it available here, absolutely. Yep, it's going to hopefully be here, and I don't know where else, but for sure here. I'm just going to do self-publish, so I'll have to see where else I can sell it. So I'm assuming that you did your records 3 years ago. Is it the same business and it's just been inactive? Have you continued to file a Schedule C every year? Or on your Schedule C, did you say there's a little box that says this is the last year of the business? Oh, okay, so Lush, your Schedule C goes on your personal return, but your Schedule C is what summarizes the business and tells the IRS that you have a business. So if you have never done it before, when did you come back? Did you come back to selling in 25 or 26? I wouldn't go back 3 years and try to change anything from that. But let's see, if you came back in 25, I would do it from start doing all of your records from the date that you're like, hey, I want to do this again. I'm going to give this another try. You've done 2 shows, so perfect. So for your 2025 taxes, you wouldn't have to file a Schedule C. So now you know you're in 2026. Go back to when you started your first show. That's the date you started business. Just pick that date to make it easy. And if you haven't already kept records, go back to the best of your ability and recreate your expenses and your revenue. Look at credit card statements, bank statements, whatever you can look at and recreate that. And then you should be good for 2026. And keep going through the rest of the year. And then next year, come April of 2027, when taxes are due, you'll file that Schedule C attached to your 1040. And I will be doing in November, I have a 4-week workshop on getting ready for tax season. So we'll be going through on everything you need to pull together. What do you need to do, whether you're doing your own taxes or you're taking them to a preparer. But we're going to do a 4-week workshop in November. I already have the shows scheduled about preparing for tax season. And then come tax season, I will do shows where we actually walk through the Schedule C. We go section by section by section. Each week we tackle one little section. So if you're the type of person who wants to do your taxes yourself, we'll start in like February. And by April, you'll be able to file your taxes. You can just follow along every single week. I actually did that this year, and a lot of those are on YouTube if you haven't filed yet and you're interested in trying to figure things out. So. And congratulations on 2 shows so far. Do you have an anchor show? Let's talk some consistency and business principles on whatnot. Do you have a show where you do it the same day, same time, every week? Who here if you are a seller and you have an anchor show, throw your anchor show day and time in the chat. I'm curious to know, of the 16 people who are here, I don't know how many are sellers. What's your anchor shows? So we have 1, 2, show our shows, perfect. If you don't have one, that may be a consideration. Thursday mornings, I do live at my friend's thrift store. Okay, make it your anchor show. We have a Saturday, Thursday. There should be one show every single week that you do not change no matter what. Hard at times, I work 3 shifts a week and the days change. So Medic Girl, I'm guessing by the name, you're probably a nurse or in the healthcare industry of some sort. And I can understand paramedic. Okay, so I can understand. My husband's law enforcement, so I totally get like the craziness of schedules. What I would do is there a time that you typically don't work? Is there a time that maybe at 6 a.m. on Sunday mornings? If you looked at your schedules, if you look back over the last, say, 3 months, could you pinpoint a day or time, even if it's not super convenient, even if it's late at night or early in the morning, where you're like, I could probably, this is a day and time that I probably could make consistently. That's the time I would pick for now. Until things change in your life until a schedule evens out, whatever. Life is always changing. Things are always evolving. I try not to work Mondays. There you go. Most jobs, even law enforcement and healthcare are the two that are quite difficult. Military too, if you're active military, could be quite difficult because you don't quite have full control over your schedule. But most jobs, you can identify an hour or 2 hours somewhere in a full course of a week that you typically don't work. And when I say typically, let's say 90% of the time. There's certain times where there's shows that I'm just not going to have because I have to travel. And I do it as best I can when I travel, but there's some shows I'm like, I'm on a plane at that time, I can't have that show. So think about like 90% of the time, what day and time is going to work for you, and pick it and stick to it. And then as things change in life, as things are evolving, you can always move that and adjust it as needed going forward. Even now, medical professionals, law enforcement type, military aside, I'll hear people say, well, I don't know. My boss makes my schedule. I'm a server. I work as a waitress. My boss puts out a schedule, or retail once a week. I don't know until every Friday what my schedule is going to be next week. Very true, and I understand. I have two children that are in the hospitality industry. I understand how that works. But if it's a regular job like that, like not law enforcement type job, you have the right to say, I am not available Mondays from 5 o'clock on. You have the right to say, I cannot work this time. Now, it might hinder you at your job. If you're a bartender, you probably don't want to tell your boss you can't work Saturday nights. But could you tell your boss, I'm not available Sunday mornings before 10 a.m.? Usually you can. That's the time you do your shows then. Sometimes it's not about the best time on whatnot. Sometimes it's not about when it's the best for you. Sometimes it's just about, this is the only time I have to make it work. I can't do shows between 9 and 5, 9:30, 5:30, somewhere in there. Because if I'm doing a show on whatnot, there's people that I work with that know I do whatnot. If they get some type of alert that I'm live, they're like, why in the heck aren't you on your computer doing your job? Like, I can't risk my full-time job by being on during certain hours. I have to figure out when I can go live. Is it mornings? Is it nights? How does it fit in with the rest of life? And it's no different. We all have lives outside of whatnot. But there is a time. That's that dedication. That's the being committed to it and having the dedication. I don't go for excuses very much when people say, I can never find a day or time. Maybe you can't find a day and time to be on for 5 hours, but you could find one to be on for an hour. And here's the other thing. Think outside the box. This morning we were talking about what Liz likes. You know what she's been doing? A one and done show. Takes her 5 to 10 minutes. She goes on. Her goal is to sell one item. She's going to be on as long as it takes to sell one item of her choosing, and then she rates somebody. She's been having success with that. A one and done show. Are you going to get rich? Are you going to grow big with that? No, but are you staying relevant? Are you selling stuff? Absolutely. So sometimes we can't do everything in a traditional way. We have to really think outside the box and how to make it work for us. Your color-coded time blocking schedule inspired you so much that I cannot seem to figure out how to make it work with the UPS schedule or lack thereof. Yours is harder because you were kind of like on an as needed or like on call type schedule. But do you know typically what days you work? Is it 7 days a week? Is it typically Sundays, Mondays, and Wednesdays? Or is it just a free-for-all? My husband, Noelle's like, it's a free-for-all. She doesn't know. So what I would do is I would look back, but you've been there, 2 or 3 months now? It's a free-for-all except evenings. Okay, so you know you got your evenings free, so that's good. You've identified that. I would look back and say, okay, typically I work these 3 days. Typically during a week, I work 3 or 4 days. Block out the time period you would normally work for 4 days. Leave the other days free, or the other days are the stuff where you're going to put in different things to do. Then if you have to swap a day, all it is moving a day around. Just because it says Monday doesn't mean it has to happen on that Monday. You can switch a Monday and a Friday if you get called into work. You've worked every day. My goodness gracious.
Mother Elegance Vintage, could you please check your DM and Graham's House 76. Also, can you check your DM?
And that's difficult. I feel for you, Lysandra, because that is absolutely not knowing. And I think we've talked about this. That would drive me absolutely crazy, not being able to schedule my days. But if you know you have mornings and evenings, at this point, it's like, look, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., I'm on call. I may never be able to commit to something between those hours. Then you're looking at morning and nights. Those are the hours you can commit. Again, it may not be convenient. It may not be always what we want, but it's what we can do at the moment in our lives. And this is no different than you may be a mom with a 2-year-old. That's far different than a mom with a 15-year-old, right? My 15-year-old can fend for herself. She can cook for herself. I don't have to worry about that. Where a 2-year-old needs you to do everything. Your time as a mom with a 2-year-old may only be early mornings before they wake up, after they go to bed, or maybe if they're in like a little daycare program for half a day. So like it's each one of us trying to figure out our anchor shows is going to look so different. Don't get caught up in that hype of people saying you have to be on for 4 hours, you have to be on for this long. You do what you can do. You do the best you can do, but pick a day and time and be consistent, because you will not grow at a good, you will not grow at a reasonable rate if you are just popping on here or there. This is what happens. People will pop on, or they do a show and they reschedule, and then they're like, well, I don't get nobody in my room. Why can't I get anybody in my room? Because people don't know when you're on. People don't know when to come in and see you. And I'll tell you what, who was I listening to? I was listening to another talk show, somebody that's new to me. And she's in California, and she's like, I'm on at her time. It's like late at night. It's like the middle of the night, or early morning. It's like the middle of the night here. She's like, you would be surprised at the amount of people who are on in the middle of the night. There are people shopping at 6 in the morning. There's people shopping at 2 a.m. in the morning. There's people shopping at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Just because if you think, oh, I have to go on at 11 at night for an hour, there's going to be people on. You will find people. My husband cuts you off after an hour and a half to 2 hours. Maybe that's not a bad thing. I don't do more than 2-hour shows typically. Maybe once or twice in 2.5 years I've gone longer than 2 hours, but not much longer. You can build a successful Whatnot business without doing 4 or 5 hour shows. Whatnot, when we went to the Seller Summit, they had some statistics about the sellers that grow the fastest. So they identified specific traits and characteristics among all of these sellers that they watched that grew the fastest. One of the traits that they recognized were sellers who were on 4 or 5 days a week for 4 hours or more. Okay, that's a lot. That's very unrealistic for the majority of Whatnot. That's wonderful if you have a team of people, you have other people sourcing or other people selling or other people packing. For most of us, that is not realistic. So this concept of I have to be on for 4 or 5 hours, look at the people who are saying that. I'm not saying they're wrong for doing it. If it works for them, wonderful. But do they have is Whatnot their full-time job? I could be on for 4 hours a day if I wasn't working 9 to 5. So what really is behind the scenes? We can't just take it at face value. We have to dig a little bit deeper. There's another seller on here who brags all the time about a certain amount of money that they make and blah, 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 blah. They rarely tell you that they have somebody doing their shipping. They make it seem like they do everything themselves. But every now and then, if you're listening, it comes out that they have somebody doing their shipping. So while we hear this stuff, we can't just take it at face value. We can't compare it to our situation. Each one of us is unique. You may have a special needs child. You may have an aging parent you're caring for. Everything's unique. You got to figure out what works for your business, and don't buy into this hype of, well, if you can't do 4 hours, you're not good enough and you'll never grow, because that's just not true. It's not true. So I kind of got on a rant there, but it's one of those things that I hear this advice, I hear these people hold out this stuff like this is the truth of Whatnot and this is the only way you're going to be successful. And it really isn't. If you look around, Jeremy at Green 13 is a great example. You're going to hear, you have to go and network in everybody's show, and you have to do raid trains, or you're never going to make friends and get a community and get your tribe. Really? Green 13 is pretty much like Switzerland. They're off by themselves. They don't do raid trains. The one he did was an experiment. He's very rarely in other people's shows, very rarely. And guess what? That guy's busting. I mean, his business is awesome. There's other people. I'm sure you can look at some of these other people that aren't doing these things that people are telling you always that you have to do. Kaja? I'm probably mispronouncing it. Thank you so much for being here, and congratulations, you got that giveaway. Look at Scuba Studio. He's another one. Tremendous sales on 4 or 5 days a week. He's not out there on raid. Kai? Is it Kai? He's not out there doing raid trains and doing all this stuff. And he doesn't do, and Green 13 doesn't do social media. You don't have to do social media to be popular on Whatnot. Now, will it help? Yeah, absolutely it will help. But do you have to do it? No. So don't kill yourself over all these recommendations. What you really need to do, consistency, commitment, and dedication. Or discipline, that's the D, discipline. Consistency, on all three of these, consistency, commitment, and discipline, they come from within you. It's not a magic thing. It's not about do a raid train or do this or do that. It's about you having the fortitude and the desire to continue to do it. That's what's going to drive you forward. Not being on a specific train, not buying a specific thing. It's commitment, consistency, and discipline. That is going to make your business. Jeremy debukes all the normal stuff people tell you to do. He does, absolutely debukes all of it. Speaking of Jeremy, those of you who may not know, we do a podcast, Zoe's Treasures, Jeremy from Green 13, and I Love Discounts, which is Tony and Lysandra. We do a podcast on YouTube Sunday nights at 6:30, where we talk about all things reselling. We are free to talk about selling on various platforms, while we mainly focus on Whatnot. There it is right there. If you have not subscribed or have not checked out one of our shows, I highly recommend it, not just because I'm on it, but they are pretty good, just saying. And we talk about all different types of topics, and we don't always agree. We are 3 different sellers doing 3 different things, selling in 3 different ways. So you get a lot of perspectives all mixed up in a 2-hour show. And it is live, so you can go to YouTube and ask questions, and we do our best to answer anybody's questions. And you're going to hear from 3 of us when you ask a question. So it's a little bit different than here. You just listen to me. There you get to listen to 3 other people. So highly recommend it. And you can go back and watch it at other times. It's also on, where else do we do? Spotify, Apple Music. And Amazon Music. So you can like listen to it when you're driving too. Modern Elegance, if you are in here, check your DM, please. So I have to say they're pretty good. This Sunday, we are talking pre-listing versus random polls, and kind of like the theories, the policies, the pros, the cons, like all things. Pre-listing, why you wouldn't want to do either one or the other. Jeremy does not pre-list at all. I do a mix. I Love Discounts does a mix. So we have a little bit of experience all the way around. And I know for a fact I don't agree with Jeremy. We are going to have some debates on Sunday night, because as much as I think he is awesome and wonderful and love his advice, this is one that I just don't agree with. So it's going to be a fun one. We love to debate. It's usually me and Tony. Me and Tony are usually like, no, I don't agree. But this time I think it's going to be me and, oh wait, I just realized I'm the common factor in all of that. I'm the one that disagrees. I Love Discounts. The topic, you should know the topic. You should be preparing. The topic is pre-listed versus random, and kind of all the pros and cons, why to do one, why not to do one. We're going to debate it. That is our topic. You guys, have you ever got a bunch of friends together and tried to come up with a schedule of topics? It is just every week. You think we would be more together about this? Every week we're like, well, what are we going to talk about next week? Luckily, this topic was because at the end of last week's show, somebody started asking questions, and we're like, oh, this would make a good, we could talk about this for a long, long time. We got to do this for our next week's show. There it is. Pre-listing versus generic listing, theories and principles, all the stuff. Yeah, I like to disagree. I like to disagree on things. You will notice that. And I'm okay, y'all. In my shows, my talk shows, I don't so much like it in the selling shows because it takes away from the selling. But in these type of shows, if I say something and you totally disagree, I'm okay. As long as we're respectful to each other, I'm totally okay with that. You can have a different opinion than me and tell me you have a different opinion. There has been times, particularly what Liz likes has changed my mind on things that I've said, because she's like, well, Tracy, have you thought about this? And I might not say anything in the moment, but I've gone back and like, oh, she's right. She really, So, all right, you guys, we've been chatting for a while. I think unless there's other questions, we are going to, did you just start a giveaway? All right, we'll wait till the giveaway goes, then we're going to go find somebody to raid. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So if you guys want to share your shows right now, please do. Please feel free to put your shows in if you're a seller. We did anchor shows earlier, but if you have something you want somebody to know about, I will tell you about my Glowy Glass show. Thank you so much, Miranda. I'm glad you found me too, and I hope you come back. You guys, I asked this morning, and this is going to be one of the things, 1 billion sales. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's like mind-blowing. 1 billion sales is so mind-blowing. Thank you so much. Have a good night, Meta Girl. I asked this morning, I'm going to ask again. If you guys liked what you heard, thought maybe it was helpful in one way or another, please invite a friend to come back next week and just share my show with them. Let them know that I am here and to come and see me. Oh, I love discounts. Southern Charm, look at that. There's some primitives, ironstone pottery, cottage core tomorrow at 2. You have a full load, a whole loaded show you're trying to push out. That is great. I am doing Glowy Glass tomorrow. Did I show you guys? Let me grab it. Hold on. Look at my fairy lamp. I was so excited to get a fairy lamp. I got a glowy fairy lamp. This isn't tomorrow's show. You can pre-bid if you're interested. And it has like amazing glow. Like it lights up. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Isn't that not the coolest fairy lamp ever? So that's for tomorrow. Dollar starts later on tonight. Store and pre-bid. Yeah, go in and pre-bid. Did you get your creamers, Rainey? Oh, I'm so glad. So happy you got them. I'm excited about this Glowy Glass show. That creamer show was fun, but I learned something, you guys. So if you weren't here, I did a crazy creamer show. I for a couple of months just bought all these crazy creamers, like animal shapes and stuff like that. And I talked the show up and talked it up, and I pre-listed. People were excited. I was going to have this great turnout, and I did have a good turnout. However, I learned something in this process. It was very eye-opening to me that I had planned to do the show here in my environment, my studio. I was going to do the show. My flight got canceled. I ended up getting stuck in Dallas. So I'm thankful I have a husband who can set up remote shows for me. However, I will probably try not to do a full-on selling show remotely again because it did not go as well as it would have had I been here. Trying to talk and describe an item when I'm just looking at the picture was more difficult than holding it in my hand. Vintage butter, y'all, if you like butter pats, look at that. Josie has some butter pats, y'all. And I know they're popular. I just sold 2 of them a couple hours ago. I know butter pats are popular. And Flow Blue. Flow Blue's popular too. 2 a.m. Come hang out with the grave shifters in the swamp and shop her wares. There you go. For Swamp Witch. I got to be careful when I say that. That may not come out perfect. He should have been he did really great. But one of the things that made me think of was, even though I'm a buyer on the app, being on the other side, trying to describe an item, really trying to be like, okay, show the bottom. Like I was trying to give my husband direction, like, let me see the inside, turn it this way, turn it that way. I'm sitting here looking at it the same way as a buyer looked at it, and it made me start thinking, I need to really make sure that I'm turning it all the way around, that I'm lifting it up, that I'm doing, it gave me the experience of being able to really think through the best way to show the items because I wasn't there doing it. It was a very different perspective. I also made me decide that I do not want to do a full-on selling show that way again. Hopefully flights don't get canceled because it just didn't do as good as it would have had I been there. He probably would have. And if he described it, he probably would have sold more because I'll tell you how my husband described something. Miranda, congratulations, you got that giveaway.
Congratulations.
This is how Noel describes stuff. Let me grab something. Okay, this swan. He would be, that's fugly. I don't know who would want this. Here's a swan. You really want it? That's how he describes stuff. And for some reason, people still buy it when he's like, man, that's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And I'm sitting here like sweating, like, don't say that. And he sells it. I think he would be good, but I can't get him to get in the bubble. So, your husband too? Yeah. I would like to do more. I keep trying to bring him into the shows more, but he won't even like turn the bubble on himself. I think it would be great instead of us just arguing with each other if he actually participated. Thank God Toby is a seller. You do a good job, Lysandra. I've seen you sell. You do a perfectly good job. You just don't like it as much. My husband is the command center running the show in the background. He refuses to be on camera. Yep, same thing. Well, he'll be on camera, but he's more the command center guy too. Are you going to get in and at least say hello before we raid out?
Josie, the problem is not that. It's just that I started on new medication and my eyes are really bad.
Yeah, he's peeling a lot. So it looks like he has a sunburn all the time when he really doesn't have a sunburn. It's his medicine. So he's kind of embarrassed. I still think he's pretty darn handsome, but you know, I'm a little biased. Anyways, we're going to go raid. Thank you all for hanging out and being here tonight. Next week is mid-year tax planning check-in. So next week we're talking about kind of like what should you be doing for your taxes. We are smack dab in the middle of the year next week. So what should we be doing there? He's trying. Look, he does a lot for me. I'm very appreciative of him, even if I do want to strangle him most shows. We make up after the show. So with that, let's see who's on. I never know who's on at night. Last week or the week before, I picked a really bad choice. Oh, Ingalon's on. Let's go see Inga since I was talking about Inga earlier. Let's go see her. Y'all, have a very good weekend.